I attended Oconee Fall Line Technical College, and like many others, I was considered a non-traditional student.
My classes at OFTC have taught me the different aspects of a criminal mind and the way the criminal acts.
The term non-traditional career refers to jobs that have traditionally been held by one gender. That would be like males in cosmetology or females in welding.
Anyone can do it, regardless of the gender, and as long as you put your mind to it, you can succeed and achieve all your goals.
Welcome everybody. I'm glad to have with me today Denise Brinson, and we're excited. We've got some great news going on here at Oconee Fall Line Technical College. Tell me what's going on.
We're excited to add to our radiology programs the ultrasound, CAT scan, and MRI offerings for our students. And we have MRI starting up in the fall, followed by CAT scan in the spring, with ultrasound beginning next fall of 2019. However, students wishing to enter into the ultrasound program can begin their core classes fall of this year. Okay. So we're really excited.
What's the difference between these three programs?
The ultrasound program is a little bit different in that it will be a full-time program once the core classes are completed. MRI and CT are only for credentialed radiographers who hold a credential with the American Registry of Radiologic Technologists, and that will be an online program with a clinical component requirement, which will be 2 semesters long for that program.
Why did Oconee Fall Line decide to add these programs?
Our communities of interest expressed a need for credentialed technologists in these areas, and when they expressed that need to me, I took that to our leadership. Our leadership went through the processes to get it done, and so here we are.
Okay, what's the difference in these three fields?
Okay, unlike CAT scan, which uses X-rays to obtain an image, your MRI will use a magnetic field and radio frequency pulses to obtain their image. And ultrasound uses a transducer, which uses sound waves. And those sound waves bounce off of an anatomical part, and that transducer collects that sound wave, and then a computer converts that into the image. So,
what kind of jobs can graduates expect to get?
Our local hospitals or any outpatient imaging center, we call those independent diagnostic testing facilities, which all insurance companies require that you hold a credential in the modality before they will reimburse you for that examination.
Okay, tell us about the experience a student will have at clinical.
Okay, CT and MRI, which is an online program for 2 semesters, are required to do anywhere from 18 to 20 hours of clinical rotations. The American Registry of Radiologic Technologists require a certain number of examinations be performed by the student before they are allowed to sit for the registry. So our clinical sites allow students to come in to those departments, and they're assigned to a clinical preceptor, and they will work anywhere from 18 to 20 hours a week.
Okay. And why would you recommend a student come through these programs at a technical college other than some type of structured education?
There are other opportunities of structured education that will allow for the MRI and CT credential. However, not all of those opportunities provide clinical access. So the main benefit for the students who come through OFTC is they have multiple opportunities through our clinical sites in our service area. Fairview Park, Oconee Regional Medical Center, some of our outpatient imaging centers here in Dublin, our Sandersville Hospital, Washington County. They're all going to allow our students to rotate through there, so they have plenty of opportunities to obtain the experience that they need.
How does it make you feel when you see students have come through your programs here at Oconee Fall Line, when you see them out in the hospitals or doctors' offices and see them advancing through their career?
It's funny you should ask that. When I go out into our service area, which is very large, every clinical site that I go into employs our graduates from our radiology department. They're highly skilled, and there are no words. It's just, it's very rewarding.
Yeah, and to me it's exciting, especially being out here and doing the kind of work I do for Oconee Fall Line. I was in the hospital recently at Fairview, and one day I look up and one of the instructors was coming in with 3 or 4 students, and they had to do they were obviously training, and one of them had to give me a shot, and I could tell how they had been trained. These students were professional and knew what they were talking about, and in talking to the instructor, and that's the reason I asked you the question. I could tell just the look on her face, how it made her feel seeing these students excel, and anybody that goes into, like I said, any of our hospitals or medical offices, usually you're going to run into some Oconee Fall Line Technical College student.
That's correct. That's correct. We not only focus on the professional skills, that is a big part of it, but we also focus on the communication skills with the patient and the daily interaction that they have with not only the hospital and the clinical sites, but the patients. That's our main focus.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Okay, you stay with us. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Portions of this program are brought to you in part by Fairview Park Hospital, a leader in healthcare for Dublin, Lawrence, and surrounding communities, providing inpatient and outpatient surgery options and rehabilitation therapy services.
Welcome back, everybody. I now have with me Tammy Beto. Welcome back to the show. You and I talked, seemed like last year, about the Bridge program.
We did.
And I know you're still excited about the Bridge program.
We are. Starts in August.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost here. And I've heard so many young people who are excited about that Bridge program to be able to get in it and have it here at Oconee Fall Line Technical College. But we're going to continue talking about, we got great news about our radiology technology department out here at Oconee Fall Line. And we're here, you probably see in the background, patients. I shouldn't say dummies. They'll probably think I'm talking about us, huh? But
Mannequins.
Mannequins, that's right. Help me out there, Tammy. But let's talk about radiology for just a minute. But what steps do you need to get in the program?
Okay. Actually, we have 3 new programs under radiology, and depending on which program you're going into, the steps will be a little different. But for all of these, you will need to complete an OFTC application for admissions and pay the $25 application fee. That is the absolute first step, and you can do that either face-to-face in our admissions office or online. And then you have to provide your high school and or college transcripts, official ones to admissions, and most likely take a placement test unless you have SAT or ACT already or one of the other tests that our admissions department takes.
Is there a limit on people that can get in it? How many will be admitted?
For each of the 3 programs, we will have 10 per cohort. That will be our limit because of accreditation requirements and clinical availability.
Okay. Tammy, what are the admission requirements?
Okay. For CT and MRI, there's prior licensure or certifications that are required. For CT, you have to be either a registered radiographic technologist or a nuclear medicine technologist or a radiation therapist in good standing. For MRI, you can be any of those 3, or you can be a registered sonographer as well. But for the sonography program, you actually have to complete the core classes that are required prior to getting in the program. Mm-hmm. So completion of those classes is your prerequisite to getting in.
And students that take this program, of course, with baby boomers like me, we're all getting older, you're pretty well going to have a job, aren't you?
Yes, the demand is very high for these positions, especially in rural areas of the state. So we're very proud to be able to provide this for our clinical facilities in the area.
And how long is the actual school? If let's say you wanted to come and learn how to do an ultrasound or CT or whatever, how long is that?
Ultrasound's going to be a little longer than the other 2. MRI and CT can be done online in 2 semesters. Sonography, you're starting from scratch, so once you get your core classes, you're probably going to be here about 1.5 to 2 years.
How difficult is it? And we were talking off camera, I get an ultrasound once a year, and the girl that does it, you can tell how knowledgeable she is. I don't know where she went to school, but it seems like it's pretty detailed. I mean, because what you're looking for in someone's body is all different reasons for having an ultrasound. But is pretty complicated, isn't it?
It is, and I will let Ms. Brinson and Mr. Kersey talk more about those because they're the experts in the field. But you do have to be trained, and you do have to have a strong science background as well as a strong math background.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you said 10 students. What if 40 people want to get in the program? How are you going to select them for this program?
For CT and MRI, it basically is first come, first served, with OFTC graduates from radiology served first. So the first seats will go to the first radiologic technology graduates from OFTC that come in. If seats remain after that, then we will seat other healthcare professionals in those programs, up to 10 seats.
Okay.
With the diagnostic medical sonography, the students will complete their core classes, and we go through a competitive ranking process that our admissions office does. They take the students' GPA, count at 50%, and that's GPA in the core classes. Then they take the students' PSB testing score, which is a health occupations aptitude test. They count that at 50%, and the students are ranked, with the first 10 students being selected.
Okay, somebody watching us right now says, hey, I want to do something like this. I'd like to get in. What kind of prerequisite courses do they need to take?
For sonography, they would need to take your general core courses like English, math, psychology, computers, algebra, statistics, and then several science courses, such as anatomy and physiologies, microbiologies, and physics.
Okay, and is this full-time? Can you do this part-time?
You can do the core part-time.
Okay.
You can actually do some of the core classes online. Once you get into program, it's pretty much going to be full-time, and there are no online courses once you get in the program. You're doing lecture lab combination courses here at the college, and you're doing clinicals out at our various clinical sites.
Are there scholarships available? And I know the financial aid department here is wonderful, but what about scholarships?
Okay. Speaking of financial aid, we do offer a Pell, Hope Grant, and Hope Scholarship. And we do from time to time have scholarships available through our foundation office, and usually they send an email out to all of our students presenting the facts of those scholarships and how they can apply. And many times the scholarships are directed to a specific area, like the allied health area, so only students in that area can apply.
Okay. Is there anything we hadn't talked about that you'd like to add?
Just that we're very excited about these programs. We have been looking forward to them for a while, and we hope that folks in the area will take advantage of it and that we can make a difference in healthcare in our region, because we know that we're all going to need it at one point or another.
Amen. And we want you in there. We want you. So, Tammy Beto, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
When you spend 100% of your time helping others, 100 years seems to go by in a flash. Auto Owners Insurance.
Curry Maffitt Insurance Agency in Dublin is your local independent auto owners insurance agency.
Welcome back, everybody. I have with me now Chris Kersey with Fairview Park Hospital. And Chris, you're actually a graduate of Oconee Fall Line, aren't you?
That's right. That's right. I am an alumni.
Okay, and when you graduated, what degree did you get here?
I graduated with an Associates of Applied Sciences in Radiologic Technology. Graduated in '07.
Okay.
From right here.
And tell me where you went from here to get you to Fairview.
Well, let me tell you how I got into it. Let me tell you what got me into imaging anyway. I graduated from high school, and then I went to Georgia Southern as a nursing major. And nursing just wasn't, I realized after a couple of years of being there that nursing just wasn't for me. And so I had always known that I wanted to do something in healthcare. And my father was the one that he had mentioned, because of the technology aspect of it and the enhancements of technology, that I would probably enjoy that. I was a computer engineering major even before the nursing major. And so I'd come home one winter break of '06, I guess, and while I was here for Christmas break, during that time I was asking around and doing some research online, and I'd looked at nuclear medicine. I didn't know whether or not OFTC had the nuclear medicine program, but nonetheless, I figured somebody here could give me some counsel in the imaging career. And so I called out here, spoke to the program director, and on that day that I called, she said to me, and I won't ever forget this, she said, "I'll tell you what, it's lunchtime. If you'll stop by and get me a double cheeseburger, I will make the time to talk to you." And I did. I remember going through McDonald's and bringing her lunch, and it ended up in conversing with her about nuclear medicine and kind of the track for imaging. I left out of here. I was signed up for classes. My financial aid was taken care of, and even before I had de-enrolled or whatever or withdrawn from Georgia Southern. And so after that, I went through the program here. I was a patient transporter at Dodge County Hospital. While I was in the program, graduated in '07 from the program, was hired on PRN at Fairview Park Hospital. My wife, as an employee of Fairview Park Hospital, had a conversation with the radiology director at the time and said, I want a ring on my finger, so I need I need my boyfriend to have a full-time job. And he ended up hiring me full-time. And then 3 years after that, I was full-time, and I'm working in the cath lab at Fairview Park and progressing and furthering education. And a year and a half ago, ended up graduating with an MBA. So I guess in 2011 is whenever I was promoted to Director of Imaging Services at Fairview Park, and that's kind of my track.
That is, and now, Fairview Park Hospital has such a great relationship here at Oconee Fall Line Technical College. I'm sure you couldn't have seen that 11 years ago, but it's got to be fun now, knowing how much Don and the hospital supports this school, and how important it is to the hospital, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. We get several students in a given semester, 4 junior students, radiologic technology program here that come through Fairview Park. So I guess a total of 8 students a semester between the junior and the senior. And it's good to look at these guys and know that majority of the team that's already working there have gone through the track that they're going through, as well as myself. And it's good to be able to encourage them and understand what they're going through and where they're headed, and to be able to encourage them along the way.
What kind of person is typically successful in this program?
Definitely a team player, because you're interacting with, think about it, in the imaging department, and it's very similar to a lab department in a hospital. You're interacting with all service lines of the hospital, being inpatient, outpatient, and our emergency department. So you've got to be a team player to be able to work with multiple departments, because multiple departments, every patient that comes through is having some kind of imaging test or some type of lab test to be able to give the physician the information they need to determine the next course of action for the care.
And probably to balance, from someone who's been in that radiology department recently, what a workload. You got to be able to balance a heavy workload, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes those priorities can compete with one another, is the way I like to explain it. You've got when the outpatient comes, your priority is get them in and out because their time is valuable. If it's an emergency department patient, getting the study they need and the interpretation back to the ordering physician can be critical, because you don't know very much about the patient because they've shown up in an emergency setting. So it is, the workload and I guess dealing with that conflict of priorities and managing that is definitely probably the challenge that I see as the one to master. And we do it well, but yeah.
Yeah, and another thing I see, compassion. because you got people in difficult situations. You got people, a lot of people very, very sick. And one thing I notice about the men and women in the radiology department is you can feel and you can see the compassion as they work through whether you can stand, you can't get up, you're confined to a wheelchair. They work around any situation, but I'm just amazed at the compassion of these people.
Oh, they are. And well, the thing is that they are literally in our community, they're neighbors caring for neighbors. Yeah. And so we, in a small town like this, or what you would call a small town, everybody knows, we know each other from going to church, so there'll be patients come through that we knew from, I may know them from church, or I may know them from, my family's business, or they play rec ball together or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely, you start seeing people as human beings and fellow neighbors other than just a patient coming through.
Okay, and these programs, the CT and the ultrasound, these programs that we're adding at Oconee Fall Line, how are they going to affect the quality of health care here?
Tremendously. I am super excited that OFTC has been starting a CT and MRI formal program. So it will give students and graduates an opportunity to further their education and to become more marketable, at least from the standpoint of someone like me who's needing someone to have the multiple skills and credentials required to be able to do the various forms of imaging that we do. Back when I graduated, you could cross-train in multiple areas and not have to have the formal education and formal credentialing of a CT or MRI tech. And that's just not the case now with reimbursement requirements but also quality standards. I mean, if you come in having a CT scan, you want to know that whoever it is that's performing that's administering the radiation required for that, knows what they're doing and have gone through the education that they need to have to be able to do it in a quality way. So I am just super excited for the opportunity. I know it's going to give a lot of the already graduates and also upcoming students.
What would you say to somebody watching us now would like to get in healthcare? And you mentioned nursing just wasn't your thing, but you found a place in healthcare that fits you. Mm-hmm. What would you say to somebody watching us, words of encouragement that may be hesitant to get in healthcare because maybe I can't do it, they're doubting themselves? Talk to that person.
Well, remember with healthcare, I mean, you're helping human beings. You are fulfilling I don't think there's no greater purpose that we can have in helping fellow human beings. Mm-hmm. And so this is a career field to where you really are impacting the quality of someone's life. And whether that is taking a blood draw, or whether it's taking a chest x-ray, or whether it's the physician doing it, you're having an impact on somebody else's well-being. And I think that is a good thing to have in a career, especially in this time and age that we are living in.
And finally, what's the most fun about your job?
The challenges, figuring out how to overcome the challenges, because sometimes you have to get creative with it. In all reality, the imaging is a evolving field with the technology that we have. I mean, there was when I came through school, and I'm 34 years old, but I can remember taking with the cassettes and taking the various images that you needed to take for a regular chest x-ray, and then running film in a dark room with the developer and the replenisher and making sure you had all the chemicals you needed. And now we take a film and it automatically displays on a computer image, and it's so much quicker. Well, that's in a span of 10 years. Mm-hmm. When you have if somebody has a stent placement in their heart, after they've had a heart attack, or as we call it, a STEMI, the angioplasty itself, the act of clearing that artery, didn't come along until the late 70s and 80s. So that is all just to think about the evolving technology of where we are now, what we've seen take place, and also what's to come is probably what excites me. The challenge in that is definitely being able to evolve with those changes, because people are opposed to change, and many people that's been in this field for a long period of time, they see that as a struggle. And so being able, and I respect that, I understand it, but being able to work within that and embrace those changes is definitely something that I see as a challenge, but also something that's very exciting.
Okay, Chris, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. My pleasure.